Today I'm going to talk to you about Sesta-Fosta, and if you don't know what that is, you should stick around because you got some work to do. Why is it called two different things? Well, there was a bill introduced in the House, which was the Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act, and then the Senate was like, oh, we're going to introduce a bill, and that is the Stop Enabling Sex Trafficking Act. And then they came together, which they never do, I know. They came together, and it's Sesta-Fosta, and the purpose of that bill was to go after human traffickers and the websites that help facilitate it. Which sounds super good in theory, but like everything our government does, they fucking fumbled it. There's something called Section 230, and it's this clause that says that internet providers and people providing platforms to you for you to be posting on are not responsible for what's being posted on it. And bills like Sesta-Fosta come through and poke holes in Section 230, which is really dangerous. So now that platforms are being told that they are going to be held liable for what is being posted on it, and because nobody likes to be Mark Zuckerberg sitting in front of the fucking Senate, they do damage control. A lot of websites like Backpage, Craigslist Personals, and other niche websites for selling and engaging in a sexual service shut down. They preemptively shut down. Whole websites change their terms of service and algorithms so they could accommodate not being held liable. And since this bill is so broad and is so just open and empty, and what is held liable, what isn't held liable, and because they conflate human trafficking with sex work, they just scrape away fucking everything. The FBI has literally hit up Congress and said, you closing down Backpage and Craigslist Personals and these other niche websites has just moved trafficking around. So now law enforcement loves to monitor online engagement. Like, that's their whole thing now. Like, obviously, as it should be, you got to adapt. It is what it is. Now they're just back on the streets, and it's way harder for law enforcement to be engaging with traffickers and victims of human trafficking when they're on the street. This is all just so fucking dumb. Craigslist Personals and Backpage was a way for law enforcement to come in contact with victims and people facilitating human trafficking. Backpage and Craigslist Personals was also very compliant when law enforcement asked them for information and access. Because Sesta-Fosta was so broad and undefined, and because Sesta-Fosta conflates human trafficking with sex work, stupid, it has had horrible consequences for the sex work community. Part 2. Sesta-Fosta Part 2. Again, because Sesta-Fosta was so broad and undefined and it conflated human trafficking with sex work, it has had horrible consequences for the sex work community. I already have a bunch of other videos about how and in which ways this job is unnecessarily dangerous and frustrating and needlessly undervalued anyway. But having access to the internet makes our job easier and safer. It is important for sex workers to be able to access the internet however we want. If that means I want to post bikini pics because I'm at the fucking beach, I should be able to do that. If I also want to post an advertisement, I should be able to do that. Because guess what? I pay my internet bill and I should have access to the fucking internet. But because these bills expand liability, internet providers have broadened their algorithm to scoop up anything and everything it seems as facilitating or that would deem them as a liability. And because we live in a criminalization model, especially for something as nuanced and detailed, and let's be real, like, it's not just like sex work isn't just black and white. It's not just like that. There's a lot of nuance, and we're people, these bills don't account for any of that, and these algorithms don't account for any of that. So it just keeps scraping us away. Like, no, it's not okay to discriminate against sex workers. And like, no, it's not okay to take away our platforms. This bill has taken away portions of our screening process. I don't care if you don't think this work is work. It is work, and we deserve to be safe at work. People in Hollywood push Sesta-Fosta, which is super ironic because you see what goes on in Hollywood. You want to talk about human trafficking? A lot of our favorites voted for Sesta-Fosta, and they did this because if they were caught voting for something that Like, it's for human trafficking. At that point, they'd be seen as not compassionate. Again, this bill not only failed trafficking victims, it hasn't helped any victims. It has had unimaginable effects on a community. It affects how I am able to connect with my community. It affects how I am able to talk and engage online. A lot of us are censoring ourselves. Shrek's work, Korn. It's 2021. This shit is fucking embarrassing. The internet gives sex workers a baseline level of safety, and bills like Sesta-Fosta scrape it away. We did not need a bill like Sesta-Fosta to hold traffickers accountable. We all know that. Part 3. You need to be contacting your representative in whatever state you are in, and you need to be continuously telling them how dangerous Sesta-Fosta is, how it needs to be repealed, and the ways in which it conflates human trafficking with sex work, again, is fucking dangerous. You need to be hitting up your representatives. Email them again and again and again. Hold them accountable and responsible for what they're doing. Not only does this bill do nothing to help victims of human trafficking, it disenfranchises and further victimizes sex workers unnecessarily. Not having access to appropriate screening because these bills hold platforms accountable puts me and other workers at risk. Spending so much time building platforms just to be continuously deplatformed aches. It is the equivalent of me taking your job. You go to a job every day, dude. Like, you fucking go to a building, and me, it's a parking lot. You're gonna roll up to a parking lot tomorrow. There isn't even a door with a number to call to get your last paycheck from. That is what it's like to be continuously deplatformed as a sex worker. You lose all your DMs, all your followers, everyone you were following, all your contacts, all your networking, everything, continuously, every single time. And there are multiple platforms you get scraped from every single day. That's fucking violence. Again. It is not okay to discriminate against sex workers simply because there is a bill that cannot tell the difference between consensual work, consensual sex work, which sex work is consensual. If you're not doing it consensually, it's human trafficking, it's abuse, it's not sex work. I don't know who needs to be told that, but you're being told that. I need more from you guys. I need more from civilians. Everyone wants to look like us and be us and fuck like us, but no one wants to advocate for us, because as long as we continuously inspire you, you'll let us fucking die. So you need to be hitting up your representatives and not only demanding decriminalization of sex work, you also need to be demanding the repeal of Sesta-Fosta, because that shit has done terrible shit. Just terrible shit. And y'all are fucking slacking. There are community reports by Hacking Hustling about the effects of Sesta-Fosta. Sex worker outreach project / swap behind bars, you need to be checking them out. Amnesty International and other allyships who support sex workers insist that decriminalization is what we need, and Sesta-Fosta is a fucking mess. Do your own research, hit up your representatives. Get to work.